I like small dogs. And there's a reason I like small dogs. You see, no one's really scared of something that looks like that. You know, so it's easy enough to sort of like walk around with. They don't eat as much either as a big dog, so they cost less to keep. And the thing is, when you go to the pub, you're more likely to be let into the pub with a small dog than you are with some great big, well, Great Dane or Alsatian or something, aren't you? And it's a bit like small cars, because they're the same, aren't they? They're great to have because they've got a bit of character about them. They're usually a bit cheeky, aren't they? And no one objects to you driving around in a small car. You know, people let you out to junctions, which is more than can be said if you were driving around in some big 2-ton behemoth of an SUV that you get around here these days. And one of the best small cars that you can buy is this. It's the Kia Picanto, which turns 20 this year. And now there's a new one. Welcome to this week's new car review. Welcome to the newly revised Kia Picanto. Please sit yourself down, make yourself comfortable in the house of dogs. I mean cars. Now, before I get started on this week's review of Kia's new Picanto, I need to ask a little favour. As always, as you know, I've got some subscribers, but I'd like an awful lot more. So if you're not already a subscriber to the House of Cars channel, would you please consider becoming one? And then once you've done that, make sure you've pressed the little bell button that's down below, because that's the way you get notified when the next video is uploaded and it's gone live. Once you've watched it, if you do enjoy it, then of course make sure you give it a pause up, thumbs up, and of course don't forget, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the cars I'm reviewing on the channel, such as Kia's Picanto, and of course on the channel as a whole. Maybe leave the dog out of it though, yeah? Okay, right. Kia Picanto turns 20 this year. Could you believe that? Unbelievable, I think. But if you were to look at a car where you can track the sort of like the gestation and the change in a company that Kia has gone through over the last 20 years, well, it has to be the Picanto, because it really is now pretty much the longest serving model, because it started life as a very cheap and cheerful, dare I suggest, basic, almost car as an appliance. And it's progressed as the company now sort of like encompasses and develops its, not just its design languages, but its engineering and, dare I suggest, quality to become some of the best cars that's on the market space. Now, this is an A-segment car, so in other words, it's the city car. It sits below the superminis. And of course, if you were a regular viewer of House of Cars, you'll know we tested two of the newest superminis just a few weeks back with the Skoda Fabia and the MG3. And I said Ford's decision to kill off the Fiesta was mad, because everyone still builds superminis, because everyone still wants them. But city cars do seem to be in the decline. So it's interesting that Kia have kept this model going for so long. And is it right that they have? And is it still relevant in today's market? However, before I start on the review, let me just give you a brief little snapshot about what's changed with this version of the Kia Picanto. Well, the new Picanto is just a heavily revised version of the third generation car, rather than a completely new model. It's available with either a 1 litre 3-cylinder or 1.2 litre 4-cylinder engine. The heavily revised look brings the company's opposites united design language to its smallest car. 8 models are available, comprising 2 engines, 4 trim levels and 2 transmission choices. And prices start from £15,500 and rise to just under £20,000, depending on which of those models you choose. So cheap, in relative terms when it comes to new cars, of course, but is it cheerful? Time to find out in this week's House of Cars new car review. Right, I'm going to start with design, as always. Let's talk about how the new Picanto looks, because I used a term there that Kia are now using to define its designs, opposites united. And basically what that means is taking two sort of like elements and combine two things that are opposite and trying to combine the two. So what you have is sharp edges and creases, along with softer, less featured panel work in the car, if that makes sense. And if you're worried about the dog, by the way, he's just down there. I've just let go of the lead. He's just walking around down there, so don't panic. I haven't put him somewhere. He's there. And you'll see him walking around, so apologies about that. Right, what have we got? Okay, so it depends on the model that you get. depending how the look of the car will be. This is a GT line, which is effectively one step up from the base model 2. The 2 gets a different look to the front of it. It doesn't get the LED headlights. It still has a similar look to it, but it has a singular big lamp in there, rather than this, which is of course the new sort of like a revised version of Kia's usual digital tiger nose, as they call it, across the front. It's bringing it in line with the designs that you get on the big cars, such as the EV9 flagship, that great big 7-seat electric vehicle, the SUV that they do, and also the Nero as well, which kind of started this look, if you like. So it's a really good looking little car. The GT line gives it a sportier look at the front. You've got more kind of, I don't know if you call it a sports bumper, but the bumpers are different finish here, a bit more aggression at the front of it almost. And as you get the light bar across as well, which it gives it quite a distinctive and a really stylish look for a small car. I love the way this thing looks, and I've never particularly liked the Picanto, but all of a sudden it really hit my radar, which is why I got the car in to have a look at it. Of course, you get the new Kia badge, as they all have there, the brushed kind of aluminium badge across there. But as I say, look at the sort of like aggressive sort of like front that you get on the car now. This colour I love as well. It's called Adventurous Green, which is phenomenally good. Really sort of like great colour for the car too. Well done, Kia. But yeah, it's a much more, as I say, aggressive, dare I suggest, sportier look to the front of the car that you get, and as I say, with the new lights as well. But bear in mind, if you go for the base model 2, you don't get this exact look. It's got a singular lamp in there rather than the 3 LEDs that are up there, but these lovely slash daytime running lights, and of course joined with this light bar, and of course all the cooling's done down at the bottom there. But yeah, very distinctive, and I can start to see where Kia are going with when they talk about that design language, that opposites united look. Right, so you see around the side what I'm saying. You've got these sort of like sharp creases and very sort of like, you know, big square-edged, aggressive front to it, and then very smooth panel work down the side with this curvature here. Look at this wheel arch here. It's difficult to see, but then there's another part here that just curves across there that mirrors that wheel arch design. Talking of wheels, alloy standard across the range, 14-inch on the 2s, but you jump up to 16-inch on GT line and above. Okay, 16-inch wheels on a little car, you know, alloys on a little car. Standard, alloys are standard across the range. Excellent. The whole car hasn't changed in size. In fact, in fairness, it hasn't changed in size since the second generation car that was launched back in 2011. So it's 3,605 millimeters long. To give you an idea, a Hyundai Ioniq 5's wheelbase is 3,000 millimeters long. So it's only 60 centimeters longer in total than a Hyundai Ioniq 5's wheelbase. It's 1.5 meters shorter than an EV9, a whole 1.5 meters shorter. It's incredible, but it's packaged really, really well. Look how far the wheels are pushed out to the extremities of the car, and that gives reasonable interior space for a small car such as this. Nothing really much else to talk about here. You get privacy glass obviously on this model, which you don't get on the 2. Body colour door handles as you'd expect, and mirrors here. You obviously get your repeater light there, sorry, your indicator repeater there, and that's about it. Nice little bit of black down at the bottom there just to give it a bit more of a sporty look, and to see these bi-coloured 16-inch alloy wheels. Handsome little car, really nice, maximising space with a long wheelbase and an overall short package. We're off to a good start. And look at the back of it. Again, looks really sophisticated, just like the front. Full width light bar across the back. And then in here you've got this recessed handle that not only is the handle for the boot lid release, but it also houses the reverse camera, which is standard across the range. That's phenomenal. Rear wash wipe, as you'd expect. See what I was talking about? If you watched the MG3 Skoda Fabia review, I criticised MG cost cutting for not putting the brake level, the high level brake light within the bodywork of the rear spoiler. It's a separate unit on the glass. Kia don't do that, so again it's actually inset into the bodywork. So again, it makes you think, well, quite sophisticated. They've spent a bit of money on it, a bit of design detail in that. That's a small detail, but one that I do like, even though the cost of the car is quite low. Well, look at these lights. Look at the way that they just go across here and then down. And again, it's that kind of vertical and horizontal lines that Kia are doing really well at the moment. And as I say, that's your opposites united. You know, you've got very strong vertical and horizontal lines with curves like the wheel arches and stuff. New Kia badge there. Picanto, a new font there, reverse lights and things down at the bottom there, and then this little diffuser area down at the bottom, hi Finley, with reversing sensors across the back bumper. Okay, don't need to talk too much about it because it's a good looking little car. What do you think? Have you got a Picanto? Have you got one of the older cars? Have you got the generation before this? As I say, this is just a revised model of it. What do you think? Has it tempted you into changing your car? Do you like the new design direction Kia are going with? Or do you not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Right, boot space. 255 litres of boot space you get in the car. Now, I did try the suitcases in here, but they wouldn't fit. And the reason being was I hadn't realised you can actually vary the height of the boot floor in this car. I hadn't realised that. But in fairness, suitcases, are you really going to be carrying around suitcases in a small city car? Maybe if you're nipping out to the airport because you're going away on holiday, but it'll certainly take two of the sort of like small carry-ons, if not maybe three, because you have this variable height boot floor. But what I thought was probably more relevant is shopping bags. So if I lower that down there, even with it in place, you can still get them in at this height here. So let me just show you here. I've just brought some bags for life. So there's one, there's two. They're not very well padded out. I haven't been shopping or anything, but I just thought it's probably more relevant. There's three. There's four. There's a fifth one. And actually, look, there's my camera bag. That's not bad. That's okay. You know, that's pretty good for a small city car. Now, as I say, it's a standard 60-40 split rear seat, the rear bench. And remember, if you watched the MG3 Skoda Fabia review, I was saying about the MG3, it didn't have a split full bench, yet full folded as one. If you fold down the rear seats of this car, it takes total capacity up to 1,010 litres. So I don't think that's too bad at all, in fairness, for the size of car that it is. And as I say, remember, you've got that variable height floor. Underneath there, you don't get a spare wheel with the car. There is a spare wheel well, but there isn't a spare wheel with the car. So again, no wheel if you get a flat with this car, just sort of like the puncture repair outfit. And that's where your lock and wheel nut keys are kept as well. But I think, you know, in terms of weekly shopping, you know, kids' buggies, school bags, you're doing the school running, that type of thing, more than enough. Right, now of course no one's going to expect this to be massive in the back considering the overall size of the car, but again, it's 5 doors. One of the benefits you have over one of its main rivals, which is the Fiat 500, of course, it being a 3-door only. So it's easier to get in and out of the back, but how spacious is it when you're in here? Okay, well look, I'm 5'8". That is my driving position. Actually, that's all right. You know, I mean, yes, the seat is quite close to me. I can, you know, there's an element of claustrophobia here where you can feel the seat is really quite close there. But in fairness, there's a really deep footwell. I like my driving seat quite low and I can get my feet well under the front driving seat. So that's excellent. And there's knee room, just, you know, for me, and plenty of headroom for me. So again, if you're looking at it as a, I don't know, you've got a small family, you've got a couple of kids or whatever, you know, sort of like, you know, my daughter's 10, she's, you know, she's getting big, but she sits in the back here quite well, in fairness. So yeah, it's all right. The doors open quite wide as well, you know, in relevance to the bodywork. So getting in and out isn't too bad. Although I will say it's narrow in the footwell here, you know, getting in and out if you have limited mobility, maybe if you're slightly of an older generation than even me, you might find getting in and out a little bit difficult, but it's not bad. There are worse cars out there for it. Right, what have we got when we're in the back here? Well, there's not a huge amount, is there? Let's be honest. You've got one USB-C port down there. We don't have any door bins. We've only got a mat pocket on the back of the passenger seat. Again, still don't know why they don't fit them to the backs of the driver's seats. Don't know why. There's no door bins. You can't have door bins on it. So there's nowhere to put water bottles because there's no centre folding armrest either. Okay, you do have ISOFIX points, as you would expect, either side there, but they're not the easiest things to sort of like get to. In fact, actually, how do you get to them? Oh, no, actually, no, they're there. They're actually, I'll tell a lie. I apologise to Kia, I'll tell a lie. They're vertical slits. I thought they were the horizontal bit there, which felt tight. They're not, they're the vertical slits. So you can get them in there, not too bad. There's 3 seat belts across the back, although I wouldn't like to be the middle person. if you were trying to carry 5. Although in saying that, it's quite a flat floor across the bottom there. But yeah, look, as I say, it's a small city car. Let's not expect too much from it. It's okay, and as I say, I'm 5'8", and I can sit behind my own driving position. But it's not going to be replacing your Renault Scenic or your Ford C-Max, is it? Let's be fair on that. I suppose when it came to sort of like low cost, I'm going to stop using the word cheap. When it comes to low cost cars, the main area that you can really see sort of like cost saving is usually on the interior of them. You know, lack of equipment and lack of good materials when it comes down to sort of like, you know, the overall quality of the interior. That is not the case, I don't think, with the Picanto, because not only is it very well equipped, but a lot of the materials in here, okay, they're not, you know, sort of like EV9 levels of plushness, but they're not bad for the money, I've got to say. Right, there is a couple of negatives. Let me get that out of the way first, okay? The first one is this. Now, it doesn't affect me because of my driving position, because I am still quite short. You do have an adjustable steering column, but only adjustment is for height. There's no reach adjustment on it. So if you're taller and you sit further back, you're going to have to adopt a very long-legged, very long-armed driving position. It's fine for me, and it actually is quite a nice driving position. But in fairness, as I say, if you're taller than me, that's what you're going to find. And yes, I suppose there are elements of the cabin lower down where, you know, you can see a little bit of cost. But as I say, it's not it's not what you'd consider what was around even from Kia 20 years ago at all in here. This is nice. Look at this. This is novel. This is your key. Yeah, but no button. It has a key. You put it in the side of the steering column and you turn it to switch the car on. How novel is that? Also as well, look at this. Handbrake. That's what that's called, kids. A handbrake. That's what we used to learn to drive with. Right. A couple of things with regards to the layout. Now, yesterday I did quite a lot of miles in this car, in fairness. I was down in the Cotswolds. I live in Surrey. I was down in the Cotswolds at the launch of the new Peugeot E5008. You'll see that review come up on Auto EV, by the way. So if you're interested in electric cars, go across to Auto EV. And I was supposed to be taking a Mercedes-Benz down, and Mercedes forgot to deliver me the car. So I grabbed this, I took this, and there was a part of me thought, oh, do I really want to drive what's going to be 4 hours, 2 hours there, 2 hours back, in a small car like this? And you know what? I loved it. Loved every mile that I put under the wheel of the car. It was brilliant on that type of journey, and I'll talk more about that when we're out driving it. But in terms of the interior, what I liked about it was, first of all, how basic everything is, and I mean that in a good way. Look at this down here, air conditioning controls, dials, temperature, turn it to make the fan speed go on or off, turn this to make the direction of the airflow better. How simple is that? No touchscreen, look, dials, brilliant. 2 buttons, one for the heated rear screen, one for your aircon. Simple as that. Yeah, buttons on the steering, but it's not sparse, that's the thing, it's really well equipped. You've got aircon, of course you get aircon, you've got cruise control, you've got lane keep assist, you've got, and it's not a massively intrusive one, so if I was coming back into this, like the inside lane without using the indicator, you get a little beep and a little, like almost a vibration on the steering to let you know that it was trying to push you back into the lane because it didn't think you were doing it. But other than that, it was really good. So you're there. Lane keep assist on the car is standard. It also has brake warning. I got a little bit close to a car in front as we were coming up to the M25 and the traffic was starting, and I got a little bit close and it came up with the brake, emergency brake warning. So it's got all the kit on it that you expect, so it's good in terms of that. This screen here, this 8-inch touchscreen, all Picantos get this. Even the basic 2 gets this. And it's standard with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's wired and you connect it down there, but I don't mind that so much. It's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So even on the basic car, you've got the ability to have navigation, music streaming, Bluetooth. You just didn't get that on basic cars years ago, and not that long since ago. It's really well equipped. And you know what? The screen itself, if you do use this screen, it's Kia. It's really nice to use. It's slick. Look at that. Nice graphics on it. There's inbuilt navigation in this particular car. You know, it's really very good. And it's easy to set up, you know, so again, if you're of an older generation, you know, there's not massive amount of screens you need to go through. You just Bluetooth your phone into it, and as I say, you put a wire in there and plug in the bottom of your phone, which will charge it, because there's no wireless charging. That's maybe a first world problem. I'd like to have maybe seen that because there's space for it, but it doesn't have it. I don't mind so much, because you're going to have to plug it in for the Apple CarPlay anyway. And the screen itself is a nice size. It's also up in your line of sight. So as you're driving along this driving position, that is just nice and easy in your line of sight, and it is literally just a hand stretch away. Physical buttons along the bottom as well. Volume control, you know, obviously tuning the radio or you know, doing the zoom in and out of the map. Brilliant, absolutely great. I love that. You know, it's not maybe that well integrated, but the benefit is, as I say, it's mounted high up on the dash, so you can see it. Look, I think that's great. I love that. Right, you jump across here and you have this now digital driver's display. This is maybe the only part that I really wasn't so keen on here. So you've got obviously a speedometer on the left and a rev counter on the right, but it's done as numerics rather than an actual rev counter. Now, call me old-fashioned, I quite like a traditional rev counter rather than numerics, and I don't really see the point of that. You know, if you're not going to have a proper rev counter, use that screen for something else. On saying that, however, the center screen, you can change it to show you different things. So you can have it as your trip computer, you can have it as your navigation with a compass, and you can have it with your, you know, your lane keep assist or your driver safety systems in it. At the moment it's saying I've got doors open, which is fine, but that's what you have there. And then you've got a fuel gauge on the left and temperature gauge on the right. And that's it. That's all you need. I've got all the information I need there. But as I say, and it is actually quite nice, in fairness, the design of it's nice. It's just I prefer a normal rev counter, but that's just me perhaps. Right, the driving position. Well, as I said, the steering wheel, the lack of that adjustment to the steering wheel isn't a problem for me. It might be for some other people. But you have got this nice little steering wheel here, artificial leather covered, same as the seats. Now Kia have got a massive sustainability message going on at the moment, and there's 10 must-haves that they're laying out in all their cars. It must have this, it must have that, and they give the reasons for it. They want to be a leather-free company. So even with the big Kia EV9, you don't get leather in that, it is artificial leather. And it's the same here. Now the level 2 car gets cloth seats, GT line and above gets this sort of artificial leather with the two-tone trim. I really like it. I think this is nice. You know, it doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel massively expensive, but it feels good, I think, for the small car that it is. And it's comfortable. The seats are actually very, very good. There's a good range of adjustment on them. You know, there's height adjustment. Look at this. That's excellent. Obviously, backrest. There's no tilt adjustment, but again, you can't expect too much. I'm sitting dead ahead. You know, this is the manual car. It does come as an automatic. Well, it's an automated manual, but effectively it's an auto. But even so, there's enough space in the footwell. I've got tiny feet, but there's more than enough space. I wouldn't think anybody with big feet would have a problem in the footwell of this car at all. Rest down there for your clutch foot, your left foot, you know, nice and easy, and everything just falls easy to hand. Look at that. Nothing is more than a hand stretch away. Electric window switches down the side here with your mirror controls as well. Just in front of me here's a tire pressure monitoring gate, tire pressure reset, and dynamic stability control button to turn on and off. That's it. Storage is excellent. Look here, I've got 2 cup holders. I won't take my big Yeti flask, but I'll take my smaller one. And you can fold the, you can turn the, see that? You can turn those away, and then if you need that, so I'll give you a bigger tray in there which will take your mobile. If you press them, it becomes a cup holder. Look at that. Isn't that clever? There you go there. There's a really handy little slot down the side of the handbrake as well for dropping your wallet in or your sunglasses case. And this armrest, you know, again, you know, that's not too bad. That'll take a few Mars bars in there. There's also a shaped area in the door bins for a water bottle, so you can get another water bottle down in there, which will take my big Yeti flask, because that was down in there yesterday to go in the Cotswolds. And then down here you've got a 12-volt socket behind that panel there, a USB-A and a USB-C there. Steering wheel is really nice to hold. It's just the right size and thickness, and as I say, say, look at the buttons that you've got on there. So you've got Bluetooth, a favourites button, your track search and volume, and then over this side you've got your cruise control, lane keep assist button, and then your button for adjusting that. What more do you want? Genuinely, what more do you want? Some of the materials, you know, this silverized finish here, and it's got a wee bit of piano black around the gear stick and the doors. That doesn't feel so great, you know, but it's all right. But the actual solidity of it is good. You know, nothing creaking, nothing feels cheap. You know, everything has a purpose to it. There's a glove box as well, great. You know, so look, you know, considering a car that starts at the price this one does, not only is it well equipped to standard, you can have things like sunroof and heated seats on them depending on the model as well, but Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, that 8-inch touchscreen, Bluetooth, 4 electric windows on this, electric folding door mirrors, bloody hell. You know, a door mirror used to be an option on small cars when I started selling them. And then the controls that are really, really easy to use because everything just works in a basic way, but basic in the right way. It's just a good wee car, just a great wee interior. I love it. And now, let's discuss engines. Now, I was talking to some colleagues at this Peugeot launch I was at yesterday, some other journalists and stuff, and a lot of them were bemoaning the fact that Kia has ditched the 1-litre turbocharged engine, which oddly enough you can still get in Kia's sister brand, Hyundai, in its little i10 model. Kia now have 2 engines available with the Picanto, and it's either this, which is a 1-litre naturally aspirated 3-cylinder engine that puts out 62 brake horsepower and 93 newton meters of torque. If you want something a little bit more powerful, then you need to jump up to a 1.2 litre 4-cylinder engine, which gives you 77 brake horsepower in the car. Both engines are available either as standard as a 5-speed manual or with Kia's AMT, automated manual transmission, so you can have that across both models if you want. Now, when it comes down to miles per gallon, your fuel economy, you're probably going to be looking at round about combined fuel economy around about 52-53 miles to the gallon, and depending on specification and engine chosen, you're looking in terms of emissions anywhere between 112 grams per kilometre up to 128 grams per kilometre. It's also worth noting that if you do want that more powerful 1.2 litre engine, then you have to either go for the Shadow Edition, which is currently available in the range, or a GT Line S. So, 62 brake horsepower, eh? Performance is leisurely, let's just say that. But it's not just raw numbers that we need to discuss here. So let me go on to that in just a second. But just for argument's sake, 0 to 60 is going to take you 15.4 seconds, okay? So you're not buying this car because you want to do standard starts and drag racing, are you? Let's be perfectly blunt about it. What I will say is this, however, if you do go for the auto transmission, you've got to add 3 seconds onto that time. That is very slow. It's nearly 3 seconds, 18.2 seconds. That takes it to go from 0 to 60. So yeah, I'd avoid that unless you really need it, I would say. But the engine, I quite like this. Now, as I said, I was out at this Peugeot launch yesterday, and I was talking to a few guys, and I said, oh, I've got this little Kia Picanto at the moment. And they're going, oh, it's a shame they've done away with that little 1-litre turbo engine. Now, I've never driven that little 1-litre turbo engine, but I tell you what, this is okay. Okay, I did 4 hours in this car yesterday. You know, 2 hours down between Surrey to the Cotswolds, and then 2 hours back after the launch. Most of it on the motorway. I've been genuinely surprised at how well this car coped with it. Not only is it comfortable, you know, in terms of its driving position and, you know, sort of like all the how easy it is to get all the controls, and, you know, make a phone call, turn the volume down, turn the volume up, things like that. It's quite comfortable. And actually, in terms of its refinement, I was quite surprised. You know, a steady 75-ish on the M4, and this was perfectly pleasant. Absolutely perfectly pleasant. You know, yes, there was a couple of bits where, you know, you've got those kind of steeper inclines where you're trying to get past some trucks, where you're glad that there's that extra lane to allow much faster traffic to get past you. But it was okay. It was genuinely okay. One thing I will say about this car, it's got a little 5-speed manual gearbox. And the shift is really nice. It's got a really nice springy lever on it. So, you know, going between the ratios is just, you know, it's almost fingertip light, you know. Pulling it back between two fingers is dead easy. You know, from fourth to fifth, 2 fingers, nice and easy. Just watch the clutch. The clutch is quite sharp. It's not heavy, but it's quite sharp in its action. So as you come up, it engages, and that's it. You know, it's gone. So just do be careful of that. It took me a little while just to get used to the sharpness of the clutch in the car, but otherwise, the quality of the actual gear change is very nice. You know, and it makes driving round about town a delight with it. So unless you really need the automatic, you know, as in you can only drive an automatic, or that you only will drive an automatic, I'd probably stick with the 5-speed manual, to be honest with you, because it's quite a nice little box, and as I say, it's not exactly recalcitrant in any way. Right, the ride quality. Okay, so this is a bit of road here where we've got some potholes which I like to go down, because we've got to, let's just see what it's like. Yeah, it's quite firm, the ride, and when you go through those potholes you do feel them, so the ride is a little crashy. Got to be aware that we're talking about a small city car here. I am aware of that, but if it is predominantly for the city, let's be honest, the roads in the towns, well, they're not the best, are they? Let's be honest. So, you know, the ride could do with being a little bit better. And again, it's not big wheels that's on the car, it's only 16-inch wheels. Obviously it'll ride a little bit better, I would think, on the 14-inch, depending obviously on the tyres that are on the car. But it gets up to speed really quite nicely. It's fine, you know, as I say, once you, as long as you're not absolutely thrashing it's quite nice, you know, in terms of the way it gets up to speed. Now, I mentioned there's a lot of safety kit on the car, and there is, you know, so you get lane keep assist on the car, you get driver attention warning as well. A couple of times yesterday it asked me to stop and have a coffee, which I thought was very nice. It's very polite of it to say, suggesting that I should stop and have a cup of coffee, which I thought, well, don't mind if I do. Unfortunately, I've got work to get to. But, you know, it's got a lot of safety kit on the car. And as I say, remember, you've got that reverse camera as standard as well, which means manoeuvrability is really key with this car, because we've got such a small car. Remember, as I say, it's not a big car. 3,605 millimeters long it is, that's all. You know, in terms, I mean, you don't get a spare wheel in a Kia EV9. You could probably fit one of these in the boot. So if you're a puncture in your EV9, you just unload your Picanto and drive on. That would be ideal. But it's a very easy little car to manoeuvre round about town or a car park. So if you're going into like a multi-storey, you know, or your local, you know, your local supermarket car park, it's a nice, easy little car just to, you know, to swing it round and do a little 3-point turning or something like that, or get in and out of parking spaces. So whilst it's got the reverse camera and things like that, it's not a difficult car to put into a space. I mentioned the driving position being fine for me, and as I say, it is, you know, as I'm of average height, you know, in terms of that. So, you know, the lack of reach adjustment on the wheel doesn't really affect me. Oh, see, that was your lane keep assist there. I just went over the white line. See, just buzzes at you to let you know you're doing it. I can turn it off actually, can I? Yeah, you can press and hold that button and it'll turn it all off. There we go. What was I talking about? Yes, the driving position. I don't find it troublesome for me because I'm not a particularly tall man. So I found a relatively easy driving position. And it's fine, you know, you get good visibility out of the car. Oh, see there, that's what you need second gear. You've got to remember, you're only putting out 60 horses, Brian. You know, I can see the extremities of the car. Even turning round, you can see the back pillar of it, you know where the back of the car is. So it's nice and easy, as I say, to position, no matter what you're doing with it, and manoeuvrability. I would think it would make a great driving school car. I really would. You know, in terms of driving skills, I would think this would be a brilliant little car. And it's not particularly heavy either, because obviously it's not a hybrid, so you're not having to lug around any battery or electric motor within the car. It is pure and simply basic. Just petrol engine up front, you know, manual transmission attached to it, and a few little accoutrements within the car. So it's not a heavy car at all. So it's quite a nice little easy car to, you know, to get on with. So we've got a little bit of a crashy ride, That's okay, you can kind of put up with that a little bit. The steering's light, it doesn't really weight up at speed, it maintains its sort of like lightness at speed, so don't be throwing it into any sort of like hairpin bends. You might find yourself expecting a bit more feedback from the wheel, which you won't get. But again, you know, as I say, it's not... We've got to judge these cars on what they're designed for, and they're not designed for that. So there's no point in me criticising it for it in that sense. I quite like the little engine. Oh, I don't like that. That was me. See what I mean? You've got to watch that clutch. That was my fault. Bad driving. I quite like that little thrummy engine. It's quite nice. There's almost a little... I like a 3-cylinder engine. They please me. There's that slight imbalance to the noise that I like about them. But see, I don't like the crunching of gears, but that's my fault. Right. Brakes. Well, it does have them. I'll say that about it. And they're fairly decent. They do hold the car up quite well, in fairness. But again, as I say, it's not a particularly big, heavy car we're discussing here. So it's got a nice, easy. They've got a nice, easy job ahead of them, just making, you know, sort of like light work of pulling up this little small car. So it's all right. Look, as I say, you've got to judge the car for what it is, and it's a little city car. And if you are spending most of your time in and out of town, you know, going to and from the supermarket, you know, school run, station car park, that type of thing, what you've got is a really nice, easy little... I keep using the word easy, but that's all I can say. It's a nice, easy little car to manoeuvre around and to get on with. I really like it. I get why these are popular. I never particularly liked the old Picanto. I didn't think it was, you know, I always thought it was a bit of a cheap... It was a bit of a car as an appliance. But they've engineered something into this new one. There's a cheekiness behind it almost. There's a little bit of... And that's lacking, I think, in a lot of new cars today. You know, they don't have character, I suppose. But this does. It's like a little cartoon character. And I'm enjoying watching them. I like it. I was talking there in the driving section about manoeuvrability, how easy the car is to manoeuvre. And I don't know if this is going to do, if this is going to show off particularly well, but I'm in a little car park here. So I thought I would just show you how easy the car is to manoeuvre around. So I'm in a parking space, we engage reverse, the reverse camera comes up. Really like steering, look at that, one hand. I'm out the parking space. Let's turn the car round and I'll reverse back into it. Back in there, and I've got my lines come up now on the parking camera, and there we are. Nice little easy, I've lined it all up. Simple as that. What an easy little car to manoeuvre. Perfect. Right, let's discuss pricing now, because this is where the real benefit of this little car comes into here. It's not a particularly expensive car to buy in relative forms. I appreciate I'm still talking about a car that starts at over £15,000, but in terms of new car prices these days, for what you get, you know, it's a bit of a bargain, I think. So, this range starts with the 2. What happened to the 1, Kia? I don't know, but anyway, you get the Kia Picanto 2, that's your first trim level, and that kicks the range off at £15,595, okay? Then you move up to this car, which is a GT line, and this is £16,745, which I think is the absolute pick of the range. I really do. The amount of equipment you get on the car is standard for that level of money, I think is phenomenal. Next up is the 3. So that's above the GT line, and that comes in at £17,495, okay? And then you have a Shadow Edition car. Now, I'm not sure if that's a special edition. I should have really asked Kia that, but that's a Shadow Edition car, and that's just over £18,000. And then the range stops when you get to the GT line S, and that's £18,445, okay? Now, if you want 2 pedals rather than 3, in other words, you want the AMT transmission, not the manual, then you need to add £700 onto each of those prices. Now, What I will say is that there's literally no options on this car other than metallic paint finishes, but the cars are so well equipped as standard. I mean, as I say, you get that touch screen, you get Apple CarPlay, you get Android Auto, you get Bluetooth, parking sensors, reverse camera. That's all standard, even on the lead-in level 2 car. That's phenomenal. And that's before we start talking about Kia's superb 7-year, 100,000 mile warranty, which comes with every car. Now, unlike the Super Mini test, what I was saying, there's loads of choice out there. If you're looking at this A-segment city car, it's actually quite a small market because, as I say, manufacturers have been stepping away from it. You don't get the Ford Ka anymore. You don't get the Volkswagen Up, and of course its cousins from Skoda, the Citigo, the Seat Mii anymore. So you've got a very, very small amount of competition that's around for the Picanto. The main one is Hyundai, because obviously Kia is part of the Hyundai group. So of course Hyundai have its car, the i10, which is obviously a similar size, price, and as I say, it still comes with that little 1 litre turbocharged engine, which a lot of people do like. And it gets a good warranty as well, and it's well equipped to standard too. So there's the Hyundai i10 to consider. Of course, there is the Fiat 500 as well, because Fiat are synonymous with building small city cars, and the 500 is still around, although there is an electric version of it. You also get it in hybrid, but the downside with the 500 is it's 3-door only, so that's going to limit you a little bit. So there is the Fiat 500 that's around. Toyota also offer the Aygo Cross, Aygo X if you look at the price list, but it's called Aygo Cross, which is that sort of more kind of jacked up style of city car, almost like a mini SUV, like a smaller version of the Yaris Cross. That's quite a nice little car, but you don't get a standard Aygo anymore, which means you don't get things like the Citroen C1 or the Peugeot 106, which obviously, sorry, 107, which is its sister cars as well. So you don't get that car anymore. What you can get, however, in terms of if you're looking for absolute value for money, is a slightly bigger car for a similar price, if not a little bit cheaper, and that's the Dacia Sandero. So do bear in mind that you will be able to get a slightly bigger super mini size car for the same price as the Picanto if you decide to forego, the 7-year warranty, the equipment level that this car has, but you want something that's a little bit bigger perhaps with the likes of the Sandero. And of course Dacia also have the Spring coming out, which is this sort of size of car in fully electric form, but obviously that's for a different channel in a different review. The new Kia Picanto is quite a surprise because it possesses something that not a lot of new cars have these days: character. It's not perfect. There are flaws with the car, undoubtedly, but if you're looking for a relatively inexpensive, cheap to buy, well equipped, nice to drive, easy to park little car with low running costs that has a little bit of cheekiness thrown into it, then it's hard not to be won over by, and it's hard to look past the new Picanto. In fact, it's not unlike, well, you, Finley, is it? Thank you for watching another new car review on House of Cars. As always, please make sure that you are subscribed to the House of Cars channel. And once you've done that, make sure that you press the little bell button. Why? Well, that's because you'll get a notification of when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you have enjoyed this week's video, and I hope you have, then of course make sure you give it a pause up. And of course, don't forget, leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about Kia's new Picanto. Do you have a Picanto? Have you got one of the old ones? Do you like what Kia's done with it? Do you not like what Kia's done with it? Do you prefer the look of the older generation car? Do you think they should have left well alone? Do you think they should still be making it in the first place? Of course, as always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now remember, if you're a fan of the gram, I am on Instagram, which is at House of Cars 1973, so please give me a wee follow there as well, because that certainly does help. And remember, whether or not it is a small car or it is a big car, whether it's a slow car or it's a fast car, whether it's an old car or whether it's a new car, you'll find them all here in the House of Cars. No cats the way, Finley. Definitely no cats. No cats, just dogs. Yeah. Thanks for continuing to support the channel. Really appreciate you watching, and I'll see you again soon. Finn, shall we go for a walk? Come on, boy. Let's go. Come on. Good boy.